Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to be reviewing another book, Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but that's my best guess. And this is a sort of mystery thriller, if you will. It has shades of noir elements, detective noir, shades of horror, shades of psychological thrillers, but I'd call it a mystery novel. And here's the cover for you, hardcover. It's a 600-page novel, very pretty looking hardcover. Yes, this is bound in plastic because I purchased this from a library. But if you are like me, where you also want to know about the actual book, not just the story, but the actual, want me to review the formatting and everything, I personally like to see that in reviews because that's a big thing for me. So stick around at the end and I'll do that. Also, this is completely spoiler free. I decided to just keep it spoiler free. And if I feel like making a spoiler filled video or somebody wants that, I'll do that. But I'd just like to keep it spoiler free so that you don't have any problems. Um, at times when I was reading this, I thought this was the best book I ever read. There were times reading this, specifically the first 150 to 200 pages were probably like the best opening of any book I've ever read. Just the hook of the mystery and the whole this whole adventure, if you will, and this whole mythos of this character were fascinating and unbelievable. A quick synopsis: there is a famous film director named Stanislaus Cordova, and he makes these very kind of violent, visceral, underground films. And he's a complete recluse. He's a very enigmatic figure. And our main character is a detective named Scott McGrath, and he discovers one day basically that Cordova's daughter Ashley has committed suicide, and he starts investigating the whole suicide, and it's one of those kind of stories. So that's the basic gist. Um, the opening, like I said, the opening hook and everything is so good. And really, let me give you the positives first, and then I'll give you the negatives. Now, the thing with this novel is I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. I still thought it was very good. I'm surprised. I'm actually not surprised to see that there are a lot of 1 and 2 star reviews. And I agree with almost all of their points, to be honest with you. But we'll get to that. But the thing is that there's so much creativity in this novel. There are some scenes in here that are just batshit insane. That are I just was like, this is nuts. I mean, there are some scenes in here that are crazy that I have not read stuff like that in a long time. Some stuff I've never read, and just amazing scenes. There are some stories told in here that are beautiful and sad. That places it's like feels like an adventure at times, like a dark adventure. That there's always this sense of mystery, a sense of uneasiness, and this book has my favorite thing normally in horror novels, but it doesn't have to be horror, and that is the dread factor, the feeling that you always feel unsettled, like something is wrong, something's off. You can't put your finger on it, but something is always off. There is this looming sense of fear, and there is this feeling that you are helpless. That's the kind of feeling that I get in a nightmare. I've said that before, where I'm getting comfy here, where you feel like no one can help you. Um, and I kind of like the ending. We won't talk about the ending, but I liked the ending. Um, so there's a lot of things about this book that I really liked. And also there are some just funny moments in it that are a little meta, a little fourth wall breaking. And I didn't like how they were implemented, but I thought that they were really funny. And there was some good, great, great, great stuff in here. I didn't finish this and go, ugh, I'm so glad I read it, and I'll certainly read it again in a couple years. Those are the good things. If you like mysteries, if you like thrillers, um, things that are dark and disturbing and uncovering things that you probably shouldn't be uncovering, getting a question answered and then now having 2 more questions, that sort of thing, you might be into this. But I don't know you, so you might not jive with her writing. You might think that it's not well written. I have no clue. But that's how I would describe it, and those are the things I liked about it a lot. And those things I really, really liked about it, like big time. But it's not a 5 star read because of these cons. This book has, like I said, a phenomenal opening, but then we get into this sort of loop, if you will, this loop where the characters get a clue, go to investigate this clue, and meet a person, and the person spills their guts, tells them everything, and they get a clue. They get maybe one thing answered from that, and they get another clue, and then rinse and repeat. And that happens a lot. And these characters that tell them these things tell them it's just a little odd how everyone is so willing to just spill the beans, and it's always done in long monologues, really long monologues. Now, this book feels literary to me. We could argue about that, but I find in those books this is how characters talk a lot. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I find that characters talk in long poetic monologues, like they're in a movie, and that's not always to my taste. Sometimes it is. There are some stories told in here that went on for a while that I thought were phenomenal, and I actually would say that most of the stories that these characters told were really good. It's just that it doesn't seem how a real person would talk. It feels a bit odd, and it feels weird that they would spill the beans that quickly. And this author really, really likes to use two things that did become tiring at times. Analogies, there were some great ones, but it became tiring. And italics, which I often found were improperly used and a bit confusing. It made the text a bit strange. And that happened a lot. And that was definitely a con for me. Um, Here's the thing, if a character goes on a long winded, sort of philosophical story monologue thing, that's fine. But when it happens like 8 or 9 times, that's a problem. It just keeps happening. There's really no other way to describe it than that. This book is very long. It is 600 pages in hardcover format. It's a long book, and you get this. You start getting used to the flow, and you're like, oh boy, here we go, another monologue, and it just keeps happening. And it's not necessarily the content. It's just that flow became very tiring to me very quickly. I wanted to keep pushing through because I was enjoying everything. It was just almost like tiring to read. And coupled with that sort of excessively wordy prose at times, I guess you could say, like improper use of italics. I don't know. That's nitpicky. A lot of people talked about that. I agree with it. It didn't bother me that much, but it did bother me a little bit. But her prose is often just too wordy. It feels like it's unnecessarily wordy at times, and it gets in the way of the story. And these characters are kind of cardboard cutout characters. Um, but that's you take that as you will. I liked the characters in this book, but I won't deny that I've seen these characters before. I don't think they're the most original characters. I have seen them and I've seen a lot of these characters in other books. They're not very original, and they don't always feel very real. But some of the characters are fleshed out, and as a matter of fact, I very much like Scott McGrath. He's a dickhead. He's an asshole. He's not good at his job, and he's not really a good person. He has some issues, and you do whatever you want. If you can't read books where the character says offensive things from time to time and is a piece of shit, basically, then that's you don't have to read it. But I love when characters are assholes. I don't like reading books where the character's like a raging like racist and it's played for laughs, right? But I like characters that are flawed. I just do. I don't want I don't live in a fantasy world. I don't want my characters to be perfect. Nobody is perfect, and just because somebody has issues doesn't mean that they're an irredeemable monster. So I really liked Scott. I found a couple things about him a bit strange, like how he was sometimes surprisingly incompetent, like slasher levels of stupidity sometimes, and he had a seemingly endless supply of money for what he is described as being like a disgraced journalist. But those are kind of I let them go. The ending of this book, of course, I will not tell you what it is, but like I said, I liked it, but it's one that if you have not read this, I'd like you to come back and let me know what you think. But I liked the ending, and yeah, there are some definite things in here that I think will turn people off. I don't think it. I think it is actually less well written than I initially thought. I've kind of mulled it over in my head, and I'm feeling like there are some definite weak things in here. Like it was trying, like I don't. This is a well-written book. Some people are picking it apart. Sure, there are some things in here that are awkward. Like I already told you, but I think it was good. I mean, the whole damn thing had some great stuff in it. But yeah, there are times when I thought, I don't know if this is like the masterpiece I was thinking in my head, but that's okay. I still loved it. I really liked it. They're more good than bad. The bad things annoyed me big time. They did. But like I said in the beginning, I don't need everything to be perfect. So that's that. It was a fun book. Let's talk about this hardcover. Um, this is a really really pretty cover, and it has it does not come across on camera well, but these are that kind of holographic, I guess you could say. Very pretty. I know it's not the nicest looking copy because it's from the library and it's got stamps and shit, but I picked it up for like $1, so it's not a big deal. Um, very very pretty. And one thing I didn't mention, that it's not really a spoiler, but there are some interactive sort of elements in this book where you will be reading things like newspaper clippings and articles and websites, and I found that fun. I really liked that. It was a lot of fun to read, and there was some cool stuff in there. But at times it felt like she kind of abandoned the. Hello, that's my cat. She abandoned things. I felt like she kind of gave up on it, and sometimes it felt like a way to explain things easily that I felt like should have maybe been done through the text, but it was a cool thing. This book has gorgeous paper. Don't look too much at the paper if you don't want to see. It's just the beginning of the book, but it's white. I kind of prefer cream colored paper, but this paper, I know this might seem weird to you, so I'm pretty much done with my little spoiler-free review. This is about the actual formatting and stuff, but this is important to me as a fan of literature, and my God, this is some beautiful ass paper. It's a little on the thin side, but um, man, quick little, you're gonna get that. Like that's all I'm gonna show you. I don't want you to see too much, but that's what you're gonna get. Stuff like that. Okay. Let me show you one more real quick. One more of those little pictures, real quick. Just not to spoil stuff like that. Okay. Very cool. And look real quick. Little scribbles and stuff. It's all very well done. I should say it's well done. With the exception of maybe one or two odd little Photoshop things that look a little fake, but beautiful looking paper. My God. And I know that they probably use that paper because there's so many photos in this book, but it's just gorgeous. And the text is very crisp looking. And as a matter of fact, they did something that I love that not too many books do. There's well, there's a lot of image credits and stuff, but and all that, but there is a typeface about the type, and that is something that is very important to me. This book was used Fairfield, and it gives you a whole history of the font of Fairfield. I think all books should be doing that. Remember the first book I read that did that was Harry Potter, which I believe used Adobe Caslon, or maybe that was Charlie Bone, the other Harry Potter kind of style book, used Adobe Caslon. I remember reading that as a kid, and I was fascinated by that they included that. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know what this book looks like with the dust jacket off. It looks to be, oh well, it looks to be a black cover with a red spine, but this is all glued and taped and stuff, and I'm not going to desecrate this by taking it apart, but the overall presentation as a physical book is gorgeous. It is really, it's a 5-star presentation. It's a 600 page. This is a murder weapon and clue. This is one of those kind of books. It is a substantial piece of literature. So I like this book. I thought the presentation, of course, was beautiful. It was a lot of fun. There were some very scary things in this book, I will say, just to caution you that it's not a horror novel, but there were some parts that freaked me out, definitely. And there's just some wild shit in here that is like crazy, but it's a fun mystery. It does have a lot of issues, and they may bother you way more than me, but everybody's different. So thank you for watching this. Let me know if you read this book and what you thought of it. If you hated it, that's completely fine. I do not care. I don't judge here. I like to hear other people's opinions. You could think it's the biggest piece of shit ever written. That's cool with me. Let me know. Let me know what you're reading. I think my next book is either going to be Ohio by Stephen Markley, or I think I'm actually going to read My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. If anyone's read that, let me know what you thought of it. I think it's going to be a quick read. and probably pretty fun. I like his books. All right, peace out, everybody. Have a great day.